going on? You, tube world. Michael, Steve, our esteemed guest, always coming back for more punishment, dragging himself through the depths to be with us on IRP 275. Jeff Moore, welcome back, friend. How have you been?
Absolutely great.
One of your favorite times of year, I know. The confluence of NBA playoffs, baseball starting, I'd say the draft as well, but then there's this other sport that's got playoffs going on too that I think you sort of dabble with, or maybe once in a while if you drop the remote just right and it like changes the channel to whatever the sport is. I mean, you'll take a brief glimpse and carry on about your day. Not really. It's background noise, I think, that the NHL is
Oh,
very.
NHL. I thought you were talking about the India Pakistan cricket thing that's going on.
Well, that's
But
that's big. That's big stuff over there. There's. I've watched a couple of those in the past, and like I can't believe how into that they get. But I'm like, again, if it's a something they get into, that's perfectly fine. But yeah, NHL Sens are already out. Kings are
that was a
already.
heartbreaker.
Yeah, I thought they'd put up more of a fight. I watched last Monday the double overtime game I started in the third period and because it was either that because it was 2-2 and then it was what Philly was up on Pittsburgh 2-0. I'm like, well, I'm gonna stick with the tied game. I'll see what's going on there. Fuck. Goes after 11, after midnight out for you, and like waking up at 3:30, 4 o'clock after those games. When I mean, I love the Sens, but I love my sleep. And waking up that early, and you're just like, you just feel like a sarcophagus just sort of moving or trying to move through the day. So, and then when softball's usually going on as well, that means traveling most of the time, and or sitting in 40-degree weather because spring just isn't going to show up this year. I think the Punxsutawney Phil came out for a second time at the beginning of April and said, "Yeah, 6 more weeks of like winter/spring, or winter/winter spring." So, what have been your early thoughts on the NHL playoffs?
um, I wrote a story for sportscollectorsdaily.com that will be up either tomorrow or the day after, probably. And I've been doing this feature for them every month called the Collector's Dozen, which is like 12 players in the hobby to watch for. And this was the Stanley Cup edition. And I picked 12 guys. And, I'm not going to pick Nathan McKinnon and Connor McDavid and Sidney Crosby and those guys. I'm looking for sort of breakthrough guys. And
Mhm.
there's no shortage of them this year. There are some guys that have just really, really stepped up. I can go through them if you want. I'm very sensitive to boring the shit out of everybody watching, but series by series, it's just been um, fascinating. And you mentioned Ottawa up here. All the prognosticators had Ottawa upsetting Carolina, like everybody did, because Ottawa was on such a heater just to get into the playoffs.
Mhm.
They lost one game to Carolina this year where they outshot them like 45-20, and um, they got robbed by great goaltending. And then they beat Carolina the next time they played them, and they matched very well. But um, Ottawa had, you know, Shabbat playing with a broken arm, and Jake Sanderson injured and Zub injured. Those are their D1, D2, and D3.
Mhm.
So they called up a bunch of kids that have only had a handful of NHL games, and they're playing 20 minutes a game, and they did pretty well. But I think in that double overtime game, Amadio had that chance for Ottawa, and he had an open net, and he hit the crossbar on that deke. If he buries that, I think Ottawa might even have gone on to win that series. I mean, every game was a nail biter in that series. It wasn't, I mean, it was a sweep, but it was like every single game was a nail biter. Could have gone either way. And the thing people were really looking at, and the thing I was looking at, I saw every team play live this year. And the teams that really down the stretch were impressive. Anaheim especially was impressive. And Utah was really impressive. And so was Philadelphia. That was a fight to get into the playoffs in the Metropolitan Division, and Philadelphia just went on a tear. And Columbus was hot and they didn't make it in. Pittsburgh barely made it in. Like, that was a real fight to get into the playoffs. In Philadelphia, that's turned into a series now. It's 3-2, but Philadelphia took the first 3 games from Pittsburgh, and it's too bad Vinny's not here to bust him about the Penguins, but
30 minutes ish.
The thing that amazes me is that this year, since Ottawa traded Erik Karlsson, 8-9 years ago, I don't know how long, like it's before COVID, this is only the second time Erik Karlsson's been in the playoffs since he demanded a trade from Ottawa because he wanted to go to a contender. And it seems every time he has a big year and wins Norris Trophy or has consideration for it, the team tanks. So what does that tell you? I don't know. But I mean, the problem with him in Ottawa is that he was rogue, and he couldn't play within the system. He could put up a lot of offensive points, but he was a liability in other areas of the game. So it'd be nice to see him have a good run because he hasn't been in the playoffs in so long. But Philly just looks fantastic, and they've got some good young stars like Trevor Zegras is having a great year. So,
which I was hoping he would bounce back from last couple of years in Anaheim, where he sort of sputtered along, and it's like, man, he comes on the scene and he's like money, and then you just pretty much give him up for a bag of beans.
Mm-hmm. Well, he's been a good fit in Philadelphia.
Yeah,
and you see that a lot. Like, one of the guys on my list is Alex Tuck from Buffalo, and I mean, he was a decent player in Vegas, and then he gets sent to Buffalo in the Jack Eichel deal, and Tuck has been tearing it up the last couple of years, but especially in this playoff run. And it's a good story too, because he's from Syracuse. He grew up a Sabres fan. He when you go and get to play for your childhood team that you love, I think that's really great. And so yeah.
What about Wild series? Who do you have in there to watch for both Minnesota and then Dallas?
I kind of thought going in that series in Tampa, Montreal were the two to watch, but especially Minnesota, Dallas. I mean, this is a series that as soon as you look at it, you think that's a Game 7 overtime. That series, it's two really good teams, two great goalies, and I'll tell you what, one of the guys on my list is Jesper Wallstedt, and for him to come in this year, I mean, he's a rookie. He has played a handful of games in the past, but for him to unseat Philip Gustafsson, who's an all-star, become goalie number 1, and to do what he's done against Dallas in the playoffs, I mean, he's just been phenomenal. And I mean, they knew he was going to be the goalie of the future. They picked him in the first round. I think it was in 21 when he was picked in the first round, and he's sort of the guy in waiting, and his time is now, and he's really really done a job. But you know, when you look at the defense that they have, not so much, you know, stay-at-home defensemen, whatever, but the puck moving, the two-way. They've got Faber and Quinn Hughes on their back end, and those two guys are dynamic. They're two of the best in the league, and they you know, Boldy has really come on. He's like that's just a really really good team, and they're a team that if I'm in that Western Conference, I don't want to run into them early because you know, you talk about um, Colorado being, you know, historically good, but Minnesota can if Minnesota can get by Dallas, they'll give Colorado a run for their money, and we'll see how that goes. I mean, I don't think. I mean, Edmonton has just been sort of a disaster all year, um, and it's unfortunate to see that whole thing happen the way it did. But because Anaheim is probably going to take them out the next game, but
Mm-hmm.
Minnesota has just been really really strong, and a lot of exciting, like they play an exciting game. That's the thing with Anaheim too. Anaheim and Carolina both play like they skate. They're fast.
Mm-hmm.
They take away time and space. They forecheck like hell. Carolina was the best for like that's what really blew Ottawa away. I mean, why Ottawa lost that series is because they were 1 for 24 in the power play and their penalty killing sucked, and that's what wins playoff hockey. But Carolina's forechecking, like they're in there aggressively, tenacious, and so they're going to be really good to see. And then Logan Stankoven from Carolina scores a goal in all 4 series. I mean, his coming out party is in the playoffs for sure, because everybody knew he was going to be a star in the NHL based on the big numbers that he put up before he made it to the NHL. And you know, everybody kind of took a flyer on him because he's 5'8", 160. But there's a lot of guys that are 5'8", 160 that are tearing the league up right now, like Cole Caulfield in Montreal is, and Stankoven is, and you know, everybody wants big bodies, but then they pass on the little guys, and then the little guys burn you. But Stankoven's been great, and even, you know, even looking back in Minnesota, Dave, when you know your team, like Zach Parise was so good, he wasn't a big guy.
No,
You know, Mikko Koivu wasn't a big guy. Like they've had a history of having guys that are undersized that have had great careers there. So
and you got to remember that Faber, again a gopher, wasn't drafted by the Wild. He came over in the Fiala trade.
yeah,
So people are all like, "Well, we don't want to give up Fiala," but that was one where you're gonna have to pay him, and I think that was still with Parisi and Suter in the books, and they're like, "Well, we can't because these albatrosses of contracts are still here for another year or so." It's like, well, let's get rid of him, but we Faber's supposed to be. I mean, that's again like Wellstead. That was again a guy that prognosticated to you're going to be a first line defender and with some offensive ability and the ability to be physical. Which again, now in the NHL, that's what you want. You don't just want that sort of roaming. You maybe your second line, but you need offense out of that first line defense to keep the puck moving. So, and yeah, watching Faber, Hughes, Boldy, the former Denver Pioneer, it's they're fun to watch because again, you got Zuccarello there still, um, but you don't have a lot of like the old guard. You got a lot of younger pieces that have been integrated over the last 2 3 years that are really stepping up. And you saw Boldy or both of them, Boldy and Faber, in the Olympics as well come up
mm-hmm.
with. So and plus, fuck Norm Green. Anytime Dallas and Minnesota are playing, it's fuck Norm Green. Nobody in Minnesota. It's 30 whatever years ago, 32, 33. That will always be when you say Dallas Stars. There's no other answer in Minnesota but then fuck Norm Green.
Still, even 30 years later.
It is like it happened yesterday. Again, we love the Wild, but fuck Norm Green. And for context, for those of you that might not be NHL fans, that was the former owner of the Minnesota North Stars that moved him to Dallas in the early to mid 90s.
Yeah, that wasn't quite a Robert Ursay move, but it was in
No,
the same conversation.
it was you move hockey out of the state of hockey again, and I'm sure I went back and looked at some more information. I'm sure there was a stadium dispute. They didn't want to play at the Civic Center anymore, but at the same time, it's the Minnesota North Stars in the state of hockey, and you're going to Dallas. That's where we're going. Do they even have ice down there? I mean, even at like McDonald's. I mean, I don't know. So yeah, it was. I think that'll always be. And again, at least when we're alive, maybe the next generation or two generations from now, it's like might not be as painful, but anybody that was a sports fan then, yeah. What's going on, Scott? So what about Edmonton Anaheim? What are your couple players to watch in that series? Please,
The first
please don't be,
one, okay,
please don't be
he's
Tristan
kind of
Jarry.
already broken out as a star, but Cutter Gauthier has just been on fire in these series, and I've got a couple of notes here um, on cards that have sold. Like a couple months ago in February, an ungraded 24-25 the puck Gauthier exquisite rookie patch NHL Shield 101 sold on eBay for $79.95, so eight grand for Gauthier card, which is that guy. He scored 41 goals this year. It was his second full season, and um, he's been on fire. But he's not the only guy. I'm going to just look for my notes here too. When I put this list together 2 nights ago, I was looking at the scoring leaders in the stats for the playoffs. As of 2 nights ago, guess who from the Ducks was leading the NHL in playoff scoring?
Becca Schweineke or Schweineke.
No, wasn't him. It was Jackson Lacombe.
UMD Bulldog.
Yes, a defenseman. He's a Minnesota guy, 25 years old, really under the radar for the rest of the league. And here's the guy has like 7 points in 4 games, and like nobody I think saw that coming. And when you look at his cards, um, so he's a 23-24 Upper Deck Young Guns is his rookie card year. So in February there was a PSA 10 Young Guns Outburst Gold 101, 2750, 2,750 in an eBay auction. And that was the first time ever that a Lacombe card sold for more than $500. So that's when you talk about a breakout year. Here's a guy whose most expensive card ever heading into that auction was like $375 or $425, and then boom, 2750. That's the kind of breakout year this guy's had, and that's how the hobby's reacted to him. So that was kind of a neat thing to see. But Anaheim, there's another guy, a local kid from here, McTavish, Mason McTavish. He's been really solid all year, but they've got a really, really fast. Again, they're like Carolina. They take away time and space. They move. They get out of their zone quickly. They forecheck. They've got good, but goaltending. They're just a complete team. But when they get guys like Jackson Lacombe, and again, because Anaheim is we play our games at 10 o'clock Eastern, and nobody ever sees them play, other than local broadcasts. They're not well known players, and I would imagine that the casual hockey fans out there, 90% of them or more, have never heard of Jackson Lacombe before, and here he is tearing up the playoffs from the blue line. So that was. that was that on the Edmonton side in that series. Um, you know, what isn't working with them? I mean, they've got three legitimate superstars. They've got McDavid, Draisaitl, and Zach Hyman. They've got Bouchard, who's probably got the best shot of any defenseman in the NHL, and they just can't get it done. And they've had this nightmare goaltending situation where Stuart Skinner couldn't get it done. Then they make this trade with Pittsburgh, and that was a bad idea. You've heard of win-win trades. That was a lose-lose trade by the looks of it. And they have other goaltenders that have kind of come and gone, but Edmonton just needs to be, Winnipeg as well. Winnipeg just had a horrible year, and they shouldn't have. And those two teams, they're good teams. They just need something to retool them and come back. But they've been outclassed by Anaheim in this series. The game-winning goal the other night, I don't know if you guys saw it, with the puck under the skate, and they call it a goal even though they couldn't see the puck cross the line. And I mean, that was kind of an ugly situation. It probably was a goal, but there's no definitive answer to it. So, but as far as Anaheim goes, those are the guys who watch, and that is a team on the rise. They've got a lot of young guys that are really good. Same with Utah, same with Seattle. They've just got a young core of talent, and they're just going to get better and better.
Yeah, the one you mentioned, that's probably their best player, Leo Carlson.
I left him out. Sorry.
Well, that's all right. You had mentioned you wanted to sort of focus on the non-upper echelon, so no worries there. But yeah, I had Carlson, and I drafted Lacombe for my fantasy hockey team. So I knew I could get him late, and he would be a minutes eater.
Yeah.
Sort of like a Mikey Anderson from UMD Bulldog for the Kings, where, again, if I'm not getting the top tier guys, I want people that are playing a lot, and Lacombe was outstanding, so that's what made me start looking probably at the end of December, early January at his cards a little more, just because, again, I try to pick up the UMD guys, and just hoping that they do well, because that brings attention to the program. You're like, okay, we've got Sandelin is there as their coach. Obviously, he's doing something well because these guys are going on and producing in the NHL, so that helps the program there. And Boldy just scored a few moments ago to put the Wild up 2-1. Yep, there we go, Rick. But yeah, I don't know what has to change in Edmonton. It's almost like at some point it's either going to have to be Draisaitl or McDavid, because you went on how long trying to do this dance with every goalie retread that you can pluck out of waivers or retirement, or like Connor Ingram's in there the other night, and it's like that's not a viable option. You're paying Darnell Nurse way too much, but who's going to take him? You can't have all these terrible contracts and then trade him away for another terrible contract and expect that guy, it's change the scenery is going to help this time. It hasn't helped at all for them. They go through coaches, they go through goalies, and at some point McDavid's just going to be like, oh, fuck it, I want out. And I don't think anybody's going to sit there and say, well, he's just being selfish. They're going to be like, I would want out too. We wasted a decade basically of Connor McDavid, and what have we got for it? Not much. Great highlight.
And do you think here's the thing about Ottawa, Edmonton, and Winnipeg. Who the hell would want to live here? You're in Minnesota, we're worse off than you.
Yeah,
and the taxes here. And it's like, it's like I keep thinking of when the Winnipeg Jets moved to Arizona in the 90s and everyone was all in an uproar and everything. Do you think the players' girlfriends and wives were upset?
Nope.
It's like minus 25 every day for like 3 or 4 months, and it's like you're going to Arizona. Like that's a pretty good deal, I think. And and I hate to say it, but I'm pretty sure the same thing happened when the North Stars moved to Dallas. Um,
100%.
a much better situation, but that's one of the reasons that some of these teams have a hard time drawing and keeping players is just because it's just a brutal place to live in the winter. And I don't know if Minnesota has that issue that we have here, but um, the Swedish and Czech players don't seem to mind it. But I have a feeling in Ottawa we're going to lose Brady Tkachuk because he just wants to be in the States, and nobody's ever come out and said that. There's all kinds of speculation, but I think his days in Ottawa are numbered, and he's the most beloved guy we've had here since Daniel Alfredson. So,
Mhm.
so yeah, that's
Yeah,
let's talk about Montreal and Tampa Bay
yes.
because that's um, that other than the Minnesota Dallas series is the one to watch. And here's what I was thinking when I was looking at that. It's like in the second half of the season, Nikita Kucherov was the best player in the NHL.
Hmm.
I mean, he was on a run where he was like almost 2.5 points a game for a while. And Vasilevsky is the best goalie in the league, like bar none. I mean, say what you want about Connor Hellebuck. Connor Hellebuck did not have a good year, even though he had a good Olympics. And and then I got thinking, like, God, how different would the Olympics have been if Russia was in it?
Hmm.
Because when you look at, I mean, I know Ovechkin is near the end of his career, but I mean, the guy can still score in the power play as well as anyone in the league. You've got Kucherov, you've got Vasilevsky on the back end, you've got young guys like Demidov in Montreal and Michkov in Philly. You've got you've got so much talent on the Russian team, and plus guys we don't know about that are playing in the KHL that might be, especially blue liners that might be all that good.
Hmm.
Um, how would the Olympics have gone if you threw Russia into that mix? Would it be Canada USA in the final? I don't know that it would, because I think Russia is capable of taking out either one of those teams. So I hope that they get whatever is, you know, the nonsense going on with Ukraine, and like I hope they get that sorted out so that we can see Russia back in the mix, because I think that would make it. Um, I mean, it's a great rivalry, a two-horse race and everything with Canada and US, and then Finland and Sweden can kind of jump in and upset anybody at any time. Um, but I would love to see Russia back into it. Speaking of Canada, US, um, I don't know if you guys saw the beginning of the Boston Buffalo game tonight.
No.
Um, so Buffalo is the only American city where they play O Canada every game. And that's because Buffalo's a border city and because so many of their fans are from the Niagara area, anywhere from Hamilton south to Buffalo. You've got probably 50-50 Americans and Canadians in the arena there. And all the garbage going on politically where, the president of the United States seems to be wanting to pit Canada against USA in so many ways, and this 51st state bullshit and whatever. But the girl singing the Canadian anthem, her microphone failed. Her remote microphone failed, and so the entire crowd sang "O Canada." And to see an American and Canadian crowd together singing "O Canada," that I don't know if it's a big deal in the U.S., but it's a big deal to us up here. That was a really really nice moment, and you don't get to see something like that a lot. Like even when Ottawa was playing in Carolina, and the Carolina fans are chanting "USA, USA." Well, like really, like look at Ottawa's roster: Brady Tkachuk and Shane Pinto, and they got more Americans on their roster than they do Canadians. Jake Sanderson played for the Americans, and like, why are you chanting USA? Tampa Bay did the same thing when they were playing Montreal. They're chanting USA, USA. It's like it makes no sense. Um, but that's just kind of a funny. So the Montreal series, the one guy that has really stood out to me, and again, here you've got Suzuki and Caulfield. Caulfield's kind of disappeared in the playoffs. He got a goal the other night, but here's a guy that is just not built for playoff hockey. I mean, you hear guys get criticized for not showing up in the playoffs. Austin Matthews is a prime example in Toronto of kind of disappearing when the playoffs start. And Cole Caulfield doesn't exactly go in the corners and dig and muck. And he's not a grinder. He's not a playoff guy. He got a goal the other night, but he's been kind of absent in the playoffs. But the guy that's really been impressive in Montreal has been Kirby Dach. And Kirby Dach was a third overall pick from Chicago, but he's not a big point guy. He's like a two-way grinding center. He's a defensive guy. He's trying to come up with a comparison for him. It's kind of a little bit difficult, but here's a guy that has just taken his game to the next level in the playoffs. Now, he made a miscue in Game 3 and a miscue that resulted in the winning goal for Tampa. And everybody was in the media in Montreal was on Martin St. Louis, the coach, saying that no, you should bench him or whatever. And St. Louis was like, hey, we're sticking by this guy. He's a great player. And then the next game, Dach shows up and has a goal and assist, and the crowd is chanting Kirby, and they just love him. And he's all of a sudden kind of become the darling of the playoffs in Montreal. But again, a guy that has a third overall pick. He's a good player. He's not going to be a 50 goal scorer, but he's a good, solid player. Now, here's something interesting about him. This year, the biggest Kirby Dach card sale was, or ever, like it happened this year. 2019-20 Upper Deck was his rookie card year. So there was a Upper Deck the Cup limited logos auto patch rookie card. It was number 25 out of 50. Sold on April 24th, which is last week or earlier this week. What was the 24th? Was that Friday?
Yes.
Yeah. So this card sold on Friday. It was the biggest ever like that card sells for $299. Like, think if that's another player. You're getting it's just some of these guys are that was the biggest sale this year. The most ever paid for a Dach card on eBay was for 1920 Exquisite Collection Rookie Patch Auto 101, and it was a 7-color 101 card from that year, sold for $850. So he's never even had a card that has sold for $1,000, even including the 101s. Now, how that guy's is he a star? He's a minor star, but he's one of those guys. Like remember Mike Keane back in the day? The guy just was like, he was just the guy you needed in the playoffs to win. And wherever he went in the playoffs, they won. He was just a rough, tough, grinded out two-way player. And Kirby Dach is kind of like that. He's a big physical guy. He plays both ends. He's a great player. And so that's the guy. And that's on the Montreal side. And of course, Dobish, their goalie, has been unbelievable. You've got so many good goaltenders in Montreal's pipeline, but that guy's really had a great year. Now, if you would say who's the best player in the playoffs so far out of in the first round, got to be Brandon Hagel from Tampa Bay. I mean, here's a guy that, he's under the radar because he's buried behind some of the superstar guys they have, like Kucherov and Point and some of those guys. He had 36 goals this year, which is a career high, not bad. Kind of, again, under the radar. But he's got 6 goals in 4 games in the playoffs. And he's not just scoring goals. It's not like, hey, it's 5-1 and you're getting a cheap one or an empty netter. I mean, he's been scoring clutch goals the whole time. And this guy has been the best player of the NHL in the playoffs. Now, this guy is probably right now the most undervalued guy in the hobby as far as hockey goes. So the most ever paid for a Hagel card on eBay ever is $400. There's never been a card paid higher than that. And that was in December. And that was a 2021 or 20-21 OPG Platinum Emerald Surge Rookie autograph out of 10. And it was a PSA 10 with a population 1. And that card sold for $400 on eBay in December. In the whole history of Hagel cards, only 3 cards have ever sold on eBay for more than $300 of his. So if you're looking to jump on somebody that's a great value in the hobby right now, I mean, that's a no-brainer, I would think. Because it's just like, this guy, if Tampa Bay makes a run and he keeps playing the way he is, and I mean, somebody's got to beat Tampa Bay. Carolina, Tampa Bay would be a real good Eastern final. I don't know if that's what it's going to be, but Tampa Bay is the team to beat, regardless of positioning in the standings and whatever, regardless of how good Buffalo is, regardless of how good Carolina is. You got to go through Tampa Bay, and you know how good they are in playoff time. They have a proven record. They're experienced in the playoffs. They win. And if they go all the way, Hagel's going to win the Conn Smythe Trophy. And then what's going to happen to the values of his cards? I mean, that's crazy. So, but that series is so tight. I mean, I don't know. I would think when it comes right down to it, if Tampa Bay has home ice advantage in a game 7 and they've got Vasilevsky, I mean, goaltending always wins the big games. And they've got the best goalie in the world, so they're going to be really hard to knock off. Montreal's got a great team, but that's going to be a hell of a series for the last 3 games.
Yeah, and Tampa's been doing it without Hedman too. He's been out.
Yeah, Hedman's been out, and they've marched on without him.
Which is wild to think, because that's been not only you're basically your quarterback out there for not only power play but regular just 5-on-5. That's your leader, that's your glue, that's your captain basically.
Yeah.
So have them pretty much not even skip a beat is very impressive for everybody involved down there.
Yeah, and that goes to, you look at next man up, or
Yeah,
somebody's out, you got to call a guy up and replace him, and it could just speaks volumes to the depth that they have, the scouting that they do, the drafting that they do. Like they've got a great organization, and they do it right. And again, like, second half of the year, they were in. I mean, Montreal, Buffalo, and Tampa were within a couple of points of each other almost right down the stretch. So anybody could have come in first. Anybody could have come in third. It went right down to the last week. But Tampa is just they're a strong team, and but Hagel is like, there's the one guy you would expect Kucherov to carry that team, and he has done very well. He's had a great playoffs, but 6 goals in 4 games for Hagel, and the clutch goals, the game winners, like he's been great.
and they're usually against that salary cap wall too, because they're trying to keep their core guys in intact, and when they make a deal, it's not like, oh, we can just go out and trade for whoever, but because they've got to send back enough, and it's what they've done again, like top down in that organization, where you're sitting there and you have to manage like every game because you're right near whatever the salary cap is at. It's like that's impressive, and to have that much success all the time.
Yeah, yeah, and they when you look at when they decided to walk away from Steven Stamkos was the perfect time,
Perfect.
because he had expired there they needed to move on to be able to get something for what they could at the time, and take him off the books, and that was even though he was the franchise player for so long, it was they knew exactly when it was time to move on from him, and yeah, and they haven't missed a beat. They've been, this decade, the 20s, they've probably been the best team in the NHL. And I think when it's all said and done, you look back 5, 6 years from now. I mean, everybody right now looks at Martin Brodeur and Patrick Roy as the best goalies ever, but Vasilevsky might be even one more than them. He's that good, and um, so yeah, and I mean, he earns his money in the playoffs. So let's see what happens.
And then like Colorado had that again, an aging, but you still had competent and useful and very skilled um, veteran players, but they knew they were going to Colorado, sort of like the Lakers in the early 2000s. It's like, okay, Shaq and Kobe are here. We want to hitch our wagon to this train. I'm alone, Peyton, those type of guys. I want to get a title shot because that's what I want, and that's what the Rob Blakes of the world, a lot of these other guys, um, came over to Colorado because they knew, okay, if we got one goal, we got Forsberg and we got Sakic. If we just play how we've played, we should be somewhere in that mix going to the Stanley Cup final. Tampa hasn't done a lot of that, like trying to like they'll take like a depth guy and get him, but again, like I said, it's not like you can just sit there and pluck whoever the hell you want, and they have to be mindful of their salary cap, which is insane. So yeah, you look back in 2030, 2035, and you're gonna be like, holy crap, that was a hell of a 10, 15-year run where you go the 10, 15 years before that run, you're looking at like, man, they get some cool jerseys. Well, how was the team on the ice?
Yeah,
I really like their jerseys. That they're cool. Like they were trash. I mean, you had Martin St. Louis, but that was and Lecavalier was a solid player, but it's like you didn't have this complete roster and like everybody buying into everything like they do now. I think you had a lot more like you said for Eric Carlson. It's like it's a one-on-one or one for one. That's who I'm looking for. I'm gonna go out there, get mine, and win or lose. Hey, if I got 30 goals, 40 assists at the end of the year, my back of my trading card looks good. Whatever. I don't care if we have 70 points and we didn't even snick the playoffs. That doesn't matter.
they won the cup, I think, the year before the lockout in 0405.
Okay.
It was either right before or right after, because they won the cup and Carolina won a cup, one on either side of it, and I think Tampa beat Calgary in the
Yeah.
final. But that was Tortorella was the coach, and that was Lecavalier and St. Louis, and they had a pretty good run for a year or two, but then it all fizzled out pretty quick, and they had to rebuild.
Because yeah, that must have been 03 when they had that, and everybody's like, Calgary, Tampa, that's the Stanley Cup. Like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, that'll draw ratings, but
Well, it was a big deal up here. Like Calgary was a real
oh, they're
like
fun to watch. Again,
they
like
were fun to watch, and they
Toronto,
had some stars like Iginla on the team, but yeah,
Utah,
Tampa.
Utah and Vegas. That's you got a lot of talent that's been built up in Utah over the years via the draft, through trades and such. And then Vegas, who's I don't know how long they've got left. I'm sure they've got more time than my brain thinks they do. But I know a lot of these guys are getting a little older. Goaltending, it's been spotty this year. And Utah just
Yeah,
have that fire right now. It's like we're we're basically an also ran. Hey, we moved from Phoenix to Utah or Salt Lake, and it's like let's put a stamp on things.
Here's a question for you about that series. Utah's goalie, Karel Vejmelka.
Mm-hmm.
How long do you think he's been a starting goalie in the NHL?
If it's that's another fantasy guy I had this year because I carry 4 goalies. I know this year he was a vast part of the starter, and I want to say he split with Ingram. 04, 05 we say you get from Jeff, so it must have been 03 for Carol.
Okay.
Um,
0304.
I would say I don't think it's more than 3 seasons. It's gonna be like a season and a half of starts, I think, for him.
He's been a starting goalie in the NHL since 2021.
Whew.
That's the year he came over. He was playing in the Czech League,
Okay.
and he came to North America in 2021 and immediately became the starting goalie in Arizona, and he's been the starting goalie with the franchise ever since. And it's like, talk about a guy under the radar, and he's been good. I mean, that team, they were just a rebuilding team, and now all those draft picks are coming into their own. This is the first time he's ever played in the playoffs. And I mean, Vegas is a powerhouse, and this guy's got them on the brink. He's been playing unbelievable in this series. Now, again, we talk about undervalued guys in the hobby. So here's a 5-year starting goalie. He's in the playoffs. He's stealing a series against one of the top teams in the Western Conference.
Mm-hmm.
And the most ever paid, actually, I won't say the most ever paid. There has never been a Vejmelka card on eBay that has sold for $200 or more. The highest ever paid for a card of this guy is in the 100s. Now, here's something even crazier. So his rookie card is in the 21-22 Upper Deck Young Gun. That's his Young Guns, and his rookie card year is 21-22. So he's number 458. So he was in Series 2 that year. Last month, actually, no, not last month. It was last week. There was one of his Young Gun cards from that year, PSA 10 Young Guns card of this guy, one of the hottest goalies in the league right now, sold in auction on eBay, $31 for a PSA 10. Like figure that one out.
It costs that again, rated.
Yeah.
Well, exactly. And it's like, hey, what if Utah makes a run? The guy who paid $31 can like turn around and like 10 times his money on that one easily. Once people catch on to this guy. But that's the thing with some of these guys. They're on teams that don't get seen a lot. How many people have watched more than, unless you're living in Salt Lake or go back to the Coyotes days of living in Arizona? How many people saw more than 1 or 2 Arizona games a year, if that? You'll see them when they play your local team on your local broadcast, but it's like, are you even going to watch it? And so this guy is, I mean, I don't know if he's the most undervalued guy in the hobby, but $31 last week, given what's going on now, for a PSA 10 Young Guns card of this guy, like insane. And yeah, it's nuts. And they've got some good young players on that Utah team, and they're going to be good. I really think that Utah and Seattle both have incredibly bright futures with some of the young players that they have that have been drafted in the last 3 or 4 years, and they're exciting players. They're fast. They're playmakers. It should be good. But I am surprised that Vegas is not giving them more of a series. I mean, I know Utah was one of the teams that a lot of people picked to knock Vegas off, but I mean, Vegas is Vegas. You know, Mark Stone is still Mark Stone, and Jack Eichel is still Jack Eichel. The goaltending thing, I don't know, Carter Hart. That's a whole other issue. I mean, that's kind of a weird situation as far as what he went through. And Teddy's got the hiccups here. Hey, what's wrong? You okay? You all right?
Yeah, because Aiden Hill dropped off, and you see that.
Yeah, and their coaching situation is, you know, is it stable? Is it unstable? I mean, I don't know. It's that was weird timing when they changed coaches. And
yeah, because when it happens that time of year, it's like, yeah, you want something to change, but at the same time, you want to have that type of like overhaul right before the playoffs.
Yeah, it didn't make sense to me. And Bruce Cassidy's a great coach, and he's a local guy from here. And when you look at some of the coaches that are available, and you've got Toronto looking for a coach now, or will be, he might be a perfect fit there. I mean, I don't know, but we'll see. But yeah, if you're looking for if you want to spend $5 on a card that's going to be worth $50, get a Carol Vanamelka card and get it graded and see what happens. Like, unbelievable. So now that Vinny's here, we should talk about Pittsburgh and Philly.
I guess we can.
Vinny, before you came on, we were talking about how since Erik Karlsson left Ottawa, the first year he was gone, San Jose had a run to the third round of the playoffs. And I think that was in like 18, 19, maybe.
Somewhere in that range.
He has not been in the playoffs since until this year. So this is the first time he's been in the playoffs in like 7 or 8 years. And which is kind of crazy when you think of it, but that's turned into a really good series. But it looked like Philly was going to take them, but Philly was so strong down the stretch. I mean, they were unbelievable. And what I was telling the other guys is that I wrote a story for sportscollectorsdaily.com that's going to be published in the next day or two, and it's called Collector's Dozen, and it's 12 guys to watch in the Stanley Cup playoffs that aren't the superstars like McKinnon and Crosby and McDavid and any of those guys, but it's kind of breakthrough stars in the
Hagel.
What's that?
Hagel's
the guy we talked about in Tampa Bay. He would if the Conn Smythe is given out after the first round, he's the winner for sure. And
he is something else.
Yeah, he's been unbelievable, and he's just been fantastic. But in that series, well, talk about both goalies, because Artur Silovs is a guy that was just fantastic in Vancouver. 2 years ago in the playoffs, he came up from the AHL, and he's Latvian. And when Thatcher Demko got hurt and basically won a playoff series for them, and he never played in the NHL before, other than maybe a game or two. And then last year, Abbotsford Canucks, their AHL team, won the Calder Cup, the championship behind Silovs, and he was unbelievable. There's no room for him in Vancouver with their goaltending depth, so they moved him to Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh makes him their starter. He was doing very well in Pittsburgh, and then all of a sudden Pittsburgh made that crazy trade with Edmonton, Jerry for Skinner, and Silovs becomes goalie number 2. And after Skinner crapped the bed for the first 3 games of that series, Shelovs goes back in and wins 2 more games. And just phenomenal. And so I think that was we'll see what happens. Even if they don't win that series, even if Philly takes it in 6, for them to bounce back from that has been kind of remarkable. Here's the thing about, we've been talking about how undervalued some guys are in the hobby. So here's the thing about Shelovs. There has only ever been 1 card of Shelovs sold on eBay for more than $500 ever. And that was a 2023-24 Young Guns Red Outburst rookie number 1 of 25. And it sold for $795 in an auction. And that was back in October 2024. And other than that, there's never been a card sold for $400 or for $500 on eBay for him. And this guy, not only, we've got to talk too about how popular the hobby is in Europe. And, Europe has been a huge growth market in the hockey card industry. And, Shelovs is making a name for himself here, but he's a legend in Latvia. And I don't know if you guys remember in the the IHF World Championships in 2023, Latvia won a bronze. They upset the United States in the bronze medal game, and the United States was loaded with superstars. And he made like 1,012,000 saves. I don't know how many saves he made, but he stood on his head that game. They declared it a national holiday in Latvia after the game. And he was they had a parade in his honor because they had never won a medal at the IHF World Championships before, and Latvia was a host country, and they won a medal. And so he's like a hero over there. And then he comes over here that year and steals a series for the Canucks, gets to play. So this guy, I think, is a star goalie in the weightings, and I hope that Pittsburgh kind of gives him the net, lets him play. He's their guy moving forward because he's proven himself over and over and over again. But winning at the IHF, winning the championship in the AHL, he's a proven playoff guy. He's clutch. He's fantastic. So that's the one guy. Now the other goalie is Dan Vladar, and he's a Czech like Vrelmek was, and he has emerged as a star this year. Now, he was drafted by Boston originally back in 2015. He spent 4 seasons as a backup in Calgary, didn't really get a lot of time, and they moved him out because they wanted to give they've got Wolf and they've got another young goalie that they wanted to kind of move in there, so they wanted to trade him off. They sent him to the Flyers, and he's become their starter this year. And he was amazing down the stretch. I mean, Philadelphia and Ottawa were the 2 teams in the East down the stretch that just weren't losing any games. And it was such a dogfight. There's 11 teams fighting for 8 spots, like right to the last week. And, here's another guy that the hobby has not caught on to yet. If the Flyers beat the Penguins, I think people start paying attention to this guy. But in the last 3 years, since Vladar's kind of been on the radar, there's only 8 cards of his on eBay that have sold for more than $100. And the highest sale was back in May 2023, and it was a dual patch autograph card of Vladar. And I don't know if you guys remember Jacob Zboril. He was a high first-round pick from the Bruins, and only ended up playing, I don't know, parts of 3 seasons, and he went back to Europe and is playing there. But this was a UD the Cup 2018-19 rookie card dual 3-color patch autograph, number 11 of 15. So it's a double card with the 2 players, multicolored patch autograph, number 11 of 15 that sold for $175, and that's the most ever paid on eBay for a card of Vladar. He's again one of those guys that you can look on eBay and pick him up for under $1. Some of his cards, if they're ungraded, and insane. But he's been good. But I mean, the Flyers have had a lot of guys that have been kind of breakthrough players, and Trevor Zegras, we mentioned earlier, has had a really great year. And
what a
it's great
move! What a great move that was from the Ducks to there.
Yeah.
Best thing he could have ever done. Why the Ducks organization was just hell bent on not playing him, I don't know. But the other night he scored a goal. Was it a goal or was it an assist? And it was just fantastic. He's very good. And they have a lot of young talent. It's first time in the playoffs that were 6 weeks ago. They were playing in the minors or in college, and now they're playing in the Stanley Cup finals or the Stanley Cup playoffs.
Yeah. And that's another thing we haven't touched on either is look at how many great players. Like you look back to the World Junior team in the U.S. from 2 years ago that won the gold medal than this year, but they have so many great college players that finished their college career after the Frozen Four in March, and there are so many good players that played in their first 2 or 3 or 4 games at the end of this season. Series 1 Upper Deck is going to be loaded next year for rookies. I mean, there are so many great players that have come in, and I think James Hagen is the one guy everybody's watching, but there's a number of them, and that's the thing. It's a really exciting time right now in hockey, because it's not like it was a generation ago where it was like Gretzky and Lemieux and maybe Roy and a bunch of other guys. Now it's like every single team has star power. There's somebody to collect, a superstar to collect on every single team. Like there's not like one guy that's just taking hold of it. There's so many options, and every team has got somebody to watch. I'm just kind of peeking over here to see what's going on in the Boston Buffalo game.
How many teams have people, like you were saying, underneath the radar that are going to be just fantastic? And I could see 3 or 4 guys on the Penguins. I could see 2 or 3 guys on the Wings. Watching all the hockey, my daughter decided to watch hockey. I was the happiest nut beside the nut house. My oldest 2 always did. But she's like, explain it to me. I'm like, sitting there with the utmost patience to explain the game that I love more than any other sport to my kid. And she's like, well, what does that mean? And I'm like, it's just like soccer. You know how offsides work? He has to go with the puck, and the puck has to be in there before the other guy. Like, you know how when the attacker goes and it's the last defender? She's like, I get it. I was like, we were watching Pittsburgh, Philly, and then we watched the Mammoth and
Knights.
Vegas. And she's like, those uniforms are ridiculous. Like I said, they're called sweaters. And I said, you should learn that from watching Shoresy. It's that one part. Yeah. She's 15, so everything but the goalie in season 1, that I block out. Other than that, I'm like, do you understand how it is? What I keep on telling her, she has to get in there. And I said, hockey's the ultimate like team sport. No, everybody takes the blame on themselves. They never let their fellow players take the brunt of it. I said, you don't have that in your soccer world. They're not. I said, it's a different way. I said, what's funny is all these guys that play hockey used to play soccer. I wish some of these soccer mentalities would mirror hockey's mentality, because there's a lot of egos still in soccer. I think there's a lot that are team players, but they don't get it. Like, I just don't understand it, especially in youth sports. It's hockey breeds something different. In soccer, it's very dodgy.
I think one thing, when I'm at Ottawa Senators games, I run the suite for the alumni. So I'm usually with ex players. And we were watching the Carolina games, and it's amazing. We got in a discussion about how, I think disgusting is the only word, about how some of the soccer culture of diving and embellishment is getting more prominent in hockey, and it's just, they've got to do something. Like, they've got to be able to um, they've got to attack it, because in soccer it's out of control. Like it shouldn't be
Yeah,
allowed. It shouldn't be allowed in soccer. They should review that thing and they kick guys out with red cards if they
yeah.
roll around 6 times as if they've been shot when no contact has even been made. Like,
Th-
I have a hard time watching soccer because of that.
They
And when you
pushed
see
that
that
rule this year. So they pushed that rule in FIFA for embellishment. So you could get a yellow card if they watch you and you go down for no apparent reason and you stay down. It's You can get the embellishment penalty, and it's just like a foul. If they warn you once, the next time you risk a yellow, and depending on the embellishment, you risk a red.
I'd
And
like to see, like, if you roll around and there was nothing, your penalty should be the other guy gets to kick you right in the balls.
I wouldn't
And
mind that
and if you're
either.
going to roll around like you've been kicked in the balls, you're going to get kicked in the balls. I would love to see that. And here's another thing I'd love to see in soccer, Vinny. And this is something the MLS should do for overtime. Penalty kicks is such a garbage. Why
Yes.
don't they do what hockey does and say, okay, overtime, we're playing 6-on-6.
Okay, so I'll make two comments to that. So
I'd
in
love that.
in in my opinion, penalty shots are hot garbage. We should go back to 1996 MLS, and it's like a break. It's like a hockey penalty shot. It's one on one on the goalie, and you just don't stand there and shoot at the net. It's
That was what
50-50.
NASL did
Yeah, that's
back in
what you
when
have to
Pele
do
and
in
Beckenbauer
MLS.
playing for the Cosmos.
Yeah. So now there is a league that is 6-on-6. I have 4 former players from my pro team that I used to deal with playing in this league. It's called the Baller League. There's a Baller League UK. They play every Monday. They play 5 matches every Monday. The USA version plays 5 matches. There's 10 teams on Thursdays. It's 6-on-6. So you basically have 2 backfield, 2 midfield, and a striker, and your goalie. And it is 15 minutes of soccer. And then the last 2 minutes of every 15-minute half, they have like or it's either 2 or 3 minutes. They have like this game they play, I should say. It's like, okay, we're going to do it where 2 guys leave off the field, and it's 3-on-3 with a goalie. And the goalie can touch the ball once, or the goalie can't use his hands, or you start with 2 attackers, you start. If you score, you get another attacker on, so you give the advantage to scoring. It's really good. It's the Baller League. So Stephen Elias, who used to play for me, uh, uh, Popa, uh, Alex Popa, Danny Rios, and Artem Barakovsky. Those 4 guys used to play for the Stars here in Michigan, and they're all on different teams. And it is good stuff. I enjoy it. I watch it religiously every Thursday. And there's guys I personally know on 4 of the teams. So it's like great. It's the best soccer there is. That kind of stuff, it's a little In the UK, it's like 7,000, and they play in Liverpool right now. So they have a big crowd. It's 7,000 sold out. US, I think it's like a 3,000 capacity there at about 2,200. But you get to watch 5 matches every week, and it's not like it's exciting. It's really good. I suggest you watch it. It's not bad. And I think that kind of style, and I think USA hockey or USA soccer youth has just become win, 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 don't develop your players. So all your good players go to Europe, and we're left with the leftovers. And then everybody says, well, those coaches are from England. I'm like, if they didn't make it in England, how good do you think they are? They're the second-rate guys coming over. That's what it was explained to me by somebody else. But there's a lot of people that had careers over there, like Milo Barton, the guy that played for us. His dad is, I can't think of his first name, but he coached. He played on the national England team. Phenomenal player, phenomenal coach. Now he's over here and he coached in MLS, I believe. Warren Barton's his name. Those kind of guys keep telling the USA how to make their stuff better, and no one listens. And then the USL's trying to push relegation, MLS won't do it. So if USL next year, either 2027 or 2028, they're starting a higher tier league with relegation. So you have USL 1, USL Champions, USL 2, and there's a 3-tier system within the USL, and it'll have relegation. Now, and then you have like these other little guys that could probably move their way up to USL 2. So if they can pull this off, I predict in a couple years, because they don't have billion-dollar franchises like the MLS, the USL might actually compete, but they have player issues with bargaining agreements right now. But USL Soccer, the Championship League, Detroit City Football Club's the one that I think I follow, the Riverhounds, which is Pittsburgh's team. And they won the whole shebang last year. So it's good soccer. There's less embellishment. There's just hard-nosed soccer, and I enjoy the heck out of it. And there's some Canadian teams in that league too. So it's good stuff.
Boston just beat Buffalo, by the way.
Ooh.
Pasternak got the winner in overtime.
Yeah, he's about due.
Yeah. That's the one series we haven't talked about yet.
Speaking of Boston, Buffalo, who are your players to watch out of there, Jeff?
So, 2 from Buffalo.
Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen.
Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen. I just like saying
my
that.
personal favorite.
But he crapped the bed in one of the games, and he hasn't seen the ice since. So they've been going with Alex Lyon. Tage Thompson, an under the radar star, kind of like Cutter Gauthier we talked about earlier in Anaheim, like an under the radar guy. This dude is like 6'6", 220. He's like next generation Cam Neely. Like that's who he plays like. And the guy was originally drafted by St. Louis. He played college hockey at UConn. 2022-23 in Buffalo, he had 47 goals, 47 assists. So that was his breakout year. He had 81 points in 81 games this year. So he's a star already, but he's not like superstar guy. But again, because Buffalo hasn't been in the playoffs in 14 years, and Buffalo has the largest TV market in the United States. However, outside of Buffalo, the Sabres aren't a team that gets a lot of exposure. So people are getting to see him now. The most expensive Tage Thompson, and the guy's unstoppable. I mean, 6'6", 220, and he plays rugged and he goes to the net hard. I mean, there's no way to defend this guy. Like you can't. So in the last 3 years, the most expensive Thompson card on eBay was a PSA 10 2017-18 OPC Platinum Emerald Surge rookie autograph number to 10. It sold for only $2,150. And in the last 3 years, that's the only card of Thompson that has sold for more than $2,000.
And I think that card was pulled by the channel Ziri Gaming, who's a hockey card breaker. He's not like a company, he's just an individual guy. I think that's the one. He pulled that off of a box. I think it was Tage Thompson. I'll check Instagram, but I think that was his card. And I remember watching him pull that card. It's interesting.
Yeah, and it's and again, for a PSA 10 auto number to 10, that's like so undervalued. The other guy we mentioned earlier too that is on my list is Alex Tuck. So he, born in Syracuse, lifelong Sabres fan. The former Boston College Eagle. So he played his college hockey there. Minnesota Wild actually drafted him. And then he was traded when Vegas came into the league. Vegas didn't draft him in the expansion draft, but Minnesota traded him to Vegas to make it as part of a deal that, like, we're going to trade you this guy, but you have to draft that guy from our team. I can't remember exactly what the details of it were. And then Tuck ended up in Buffalo as part of the Jack Eichel deal. And Tuck had 33 goals this year. So in the past 4 years, he's had 30-goal seasons, or 3 30-goal seasons. So he's doing well. And through 4 games in the playoffs, he had 3 goals, 3 assists for 6 points. So he's been playing extremely well. Now, again, here's a guy that's, think of it, 3 30-goal seasons in 4 years, in a huge hockey card market in Buffalo. The most expensive Tuck card sold on eBay ever was a 2017-18 OPC Platinum Golden Treasures 1-of-1 rookie card. So a 1-of-1 rookie card, Alex Tuck, $725. And it's one of only 3 Alex Tuck cards that have ever sold for more than $500 on eBay. So again, we've been talking about guys that are undervalued. Alex Tuck is a great player. And I
was mistaken. That was Owen Power 101.
Owen Power, okay.
Yeah, I knew it was from Buffalo, but I thought it was Tage Thompson. But it was Owen Power, the 1-on-1 rookie autograph.
And Owen Power, there's a guy that was a first overall pick, and he's under the radar. I mean, he's overshadowed by Rasmus Dahlin a little bit on the back end, but I mean that's the depth that Buffalo has. When your first overall draft pick is kind of having a good year, but he's not really noticeable because of your other great players, that's something that's interesting,
Tuck was, I think that trade there was when I think they left Dumba unprotected, and they said, we'll trade you Tuck if you don't take Dumba. That was something along the line, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, that might have been it. There was one thing I wanted to mention to Vinny that was, when we're talking about Cutter Gauthier, Vinny, you'd love this. So Gauthier grew up a Pittsburgh Penguins fanatic, huge Penguins fan, and then he was drafted by the Flyers, and this was before he went to his freshman year for Boston College, and the reports in the media said that he hated the Flyers so much that he would never sign with them, like as a fan, and I'm sure there's been a lot of guys that, like, when you grow up, that you hate a certain team, but you're drafted by them, and now you're on that team and that's your team. But he was he refused to sign with them, and so the Flyers ended up trading him to Anaheim because he would never play for the Flyers, which is that's classic.
That hate is real. It is something that I harbor myself. While I recognize guys like Lindros and Mark Recchi broke my heart when we traded him to the Flyers. Rick Tocchet, who I love, is their coach, which drives me insane because I think he should be in Pittsburgh. There have been players on the Flyers that I have enjoyed watching and don't hate them in particularly. But the rivalry between that, Philadelphia Phillies, I don't got a problem with them. Eagles, whatever. The basketball, 76ers, or whatever they're called now. I don't even know if they're still the 76ers. Yeah, I'm cool. Whatever, basketball. But when it comes to hockey, it's like, everybody says, well, you should hate Ovechkin. I love Ovechkin. That's just my thing. I have no problem with him. Well, there's Sid thing. You got to choose Sid or Ovi. No, you don't. But when it comes down to Philadelphia, it's a bitter. It's not a hatred. It's just like, I don't like him. And Sid said it before. They go, what's your deal with Philadelphia? He goes, I just don't like those guys. And that's, I don't know about the newer teams now. Like, Gostisbehere played on there. I liked him. There's a couple guys on there that I like now that are pretty solid. But overall, as a team, when I see that orange, no, it's like Michael and the Bears. It just doesn't mix. It's just ingrained in you that, I love the Phillies. I love John Kruk and Lenny Dykstra and that whole bunch. I never had a problem. Maybe because we weren't there was never a rivalry between them and the Pirates. But Philadelphia, Legion of Doom, great players, but they knocked us out of the playoffs and it drove me insane. I just couldn't. No, I just can't do it.
The Pirates' only rival is their owner.
Correct. This is a true statement, Michael. And it's like the Red Wings. I will never deny that Sakic, Forsberg, Foote. I hate Patrick Waugh. Well, I don't hate him, but I don't care for him. And there's a lot. Valerie Kaminsky, all these guys that played for the Avalanche. I liked Quebec Nordiques. So but that rivalry, Claude Lemieux, Avalanche is just great talent, but when I see him play the Red Wings, I want blood. It's just in my nature to that rivalry, and we don't have that like that in sports as much as we used to. You don't have that heated passion that for 60 minutes I hate your guts, and then 60 minutes later I'm cool with you. But while we're playing, it's like it's a war, and it's gonna be like that. Ed, I love Ed, who's Wesker Griff, always on this show, in the chat, in the comments. But like I told him, he said last night, he goes, the war's still on, Unc. And I was like, yup, another day to battle. But it's fun. It's a good thing to have a rivalry like that amongst people. I've watched, because of Paul, I've watched more Edmonton games than I've ever in my entire life, even when Gretzky was playing for Edmonton. Because I get the Canadian hockey night in Canada since I moved to Michigan. So 15 years, if it's Saturday night, it's soccer and then it's hockey night in Canada. I'm an honorary Canadian because I just love it. And I could watch any team almost now. And I've been like that for almost 20 years. The Penguins, the Red Wings are still my number one and number two, and I always liked Ovechkin, so I never hurt, but I'll watch any game. And I think that's lacking in sports today. It's like I watched that Mammoth Vegas game. I like Jack Eichel. He's a good player. He gets under people's skin. People hate him for it, but that's his bag. And the Mammoth, I'm not as familiar with them, but they were playing solid the other night. And my kid wants a jersey, so whatever it takes to get her in the front door for hockey, because I know her deep love for soccer, but that and baseball, I wanna push it. Make her own decisions, but like these games are just worth to watch to get to. It's just something good. It's a distraction for the masses, as they say. But hockey's just a different thing. There's a
Speaking of
different
Canadian hockey teams in Edmonton, the Oilers are up 3-0 right now in the first period.
There you go, Paul and Dave, for
Yeah.
that matter. So my wife has to be asleep and has the game on. So we turned on the game the other night. She turned the game on, and in 2 minutes she fell asleep. And then Edmonton scored twice. So I told Paul, I said, I'm going to slip some extra melatonin in her water, and we got to recreate that because, as everyone knows in hockey, you can't break a streak.
Yeah.
Right. Once it works, you can't go away from it.
Correct. It's like my kid with her goalie gloves. They stink so bad because they're, leather and polypropylene and all that, and they smell something god awful. And we bought her this bag. It's called a salt bag. It hides that odor. Do you think she uses it? No. But those things have to be fallen apart for her to get rid of them, because once you break them in, they're just like, it's like Artris Urbe with his pads. Yeah, that is, it's hard pressed to beat, Jeff. It is hard pressed to beat. Philly, Pittsburgh is about the only thing. And I haven't gone to PPG Arena. I really want to go there. My middle daughter did with her husband, and they went to a game while they were in Pittsburgh picking up C from my parents' house. And they said it was amazing. But if it's anything like the Igloo, which I'm glad I got to experience, and Joe Louis, which my wife almost got me kicked out because we went to see the Penguins versus the Red Wings, and I had a Penguins hat on. No, I had a Penguins jersey with a Red Wings hat. And everybody was just looking at me like I had 6 heads. But she told security that they weren't paying attention. I had my hat maybe in my hand. And they're like, kick him out. He's starting trouble. They were about to throw me out. But those are the only 2 hockey. I've been to Little Caesars. It's more show than flow, but Joe Louis was electric and alive. You could feel the arena, the actual embodiment of hockey in the vibrations of the walls. And it's the same thing with the Igloo. When I went to a playoff game in 1990 and I watched Lemieux and Yager and those guys play, I can get the goosebumps because it was just amazing to watch live the guys that you wanted to be when you were a kid. So I don't know where I was going with that, but continue.
You mentioned in your tirade, in your soliloquy there, that you you don't like Patrick Waugh. I'm going to tell you a Patrick Waugh story, if that's okay, because I haven't told you any. I haven't told you guys any back in the day sports card industry stories today, which usually I just sort of wind up and never shut up. But back in the day, before I worked for the card companies, I was the editor at Canadian Sports Card Collector magazine, which was sort of described as Canada's Beckett at that time. And we were in St. Catharines, Ontario, which is across the border from Buffalo. So I was at most Sabres games. And Montreal was coming in to play Buffalo, and Patrick Roy was still in Montreal. This was the year before they won the Cup. So this was the 91-92 season, not 92-93. And Patrick Roy is a huge collector. Like he has one of the world's greatest hockey card collections, and he's hardcore. And I called the PR people for the Canadians, the media people, and said, I'd like to do an interview for our magazine with Patrick Roy when you guys are in Buffalo. And Buffalo has their home games on Friday nights. Montreal has their home games on Saturday nights. So often when they play back to back, Patrick Roy won't play the Friday because they want him to play at home in Montreal. And so he had the night off. So Patrick Roy was like, that'd be awesome. I'd love to do the interview. And so after practice, we sat in the arena, like we sat in the seats at the Odd in Buffalo for like probably an hour and a half or 2 hours talking about hockey cards. And the first thing he said was, I was really looking forward. He said this to me, and I nearly shit my pants. He says, I'm really looking forward to meeting you because I want to ask you about this. I have a chance to buy a complete set of 1912 C56 hockey cards, and I wanted to pick your brain on what you thought about the set. And so we talked about, back then there was no grading yet. It was early 90s. We talked about the card conditions, who the stars in the set were, things like that. And then he was telling me stories about, he grew up just outside of Quebec City. So he was a Nordiques fan growing up, and Dan Bouchard was his favorite player. And he used to sort his hockey cards out into teams, and he'd sit on his bed and he'd have one team lined up and the other team, and he'd have a marble and he'd like play games with them. And that's what he did in his childhood when he wasn't playing hockey. And then he became a hardcore collector. And then when I worked at Pinnacle, there was actually, he had hired somebody who actually bought new stuff for him because he wanted to keep on top of making sure he got master sets of everything. So all the parallels and whatever. So I don't know how long he kept it up for, but he was known as one of the top two collectors in the industry for quite a while, like well into the 21st century. And so it's kind of cool when an active player, and then he became a coach later on, but he's an active player, a superstar, and he's so into hockey card collecting. And he's a student of the game, a student of the history of the game. I mean, that's why people collect the vintage stuff. I mean, yes, it's an investment, but you love the history of the game. And so I always kind of respected him, but I had a great time talking to him about that stuff, and what a really, really great guy. And really enjoyed that. So you see people and you sort of see who they are when you see them on TV as athletes, but you don't really know what they're like. Like, you think of, the biggest asshole in the NHL on the ice is Brad Marchand, without a doubt. But all you hear about him is what a great guy he is.
Yeah.
You hear what a great teammate, what a great guy. Like Terrell Owens had a reputation of being a complete asshole, but when I worked for Pacific and he was the spokesman for our football cards, he was an amazing guy to work with, and would do anything for the company, and really, really nice guy. So people have brands, and they're created sometimes by the media, or they're created through incidents or rivalries or things that they say in press conferences. Anytime you think of Jim Mora, you don't think of what a great coach he is. You think of playoffs, like that's kind of, people get pigeonholed with things, and it's not really who they are, but that's one of the great things about having worked in the industry for so long is some of the people that I've got a chance to meet have just been absolutely incredible. So yeah, but yeah, I'll never forget actually when my sports card book is finally written, there'll be a chapter about Patrick Waugh and that encounter and that meeting that we had at the Odd in Buffalo.
Only Jeff Morris can make me like Patrick Waugh and look at something differently. Only on the IRP, ladies and gentlemen. Only on the IRP. Like, I don't hate him as much as I did 10 minutes ago. Because, exactly to your point, I see when he was on the bench after the Red Wings lit him up when he played for Montreal, and I remember him looking at the coach or the GM and said, "That's basically my last game." And maybe I just liked him for some of the other things, and him coming across the ice and the altercations. It's sort of like Claude Lemieux. It's just a guy you like to hate, but then you're like, how bad can this guy really be in real life?
Huh.
Maybe I just never had that moment till now with Patrick Waugh. See?
Yeah, and then there's some guys that in real life are complete assholes.
Yeah,
and you don't see that when they're playing,
correct.
And it's funny you mentioned Claude Lemieux, because I was thinking about him when Jeff McMahon had the thing at the bottom of the screen talking about the Avalanche Red Wings rivalry, because all I remember is like Claude Lemieux could fight. He was a very good fighter, but he just, for some reason, turtled at the most inopportune times and faked injuries and thought he was helping the team. And there was one time when he was injured or faked an injury when he was playing for Colorado, and the coach just left him out there. No, he wouldn't. Don't send the trainers out. He's faking. Let him lie there like just a disgrace. But he thought he was helping the team doing that, and it's kind of too bad. But he will always seem to be at the middle of it. And there's I mentioned the book I'm writing. I put the book on hold to write a second book, and the manuscript is done. I'm shopping it around. I've got it in front of about 35 different literary agents right now, and it's a book on my cancer journey. The book is called The Gift of Cancer: How a Horrible Disease Made My Life Wonderful, and it's kind of an inspirational book, and very positive. It's very faith-based. It's faith-infused, so there's a lot of Christian elements to it. But the book is, if you're on TikTok, my username is Footloose Ottawa. Before I had cancer and I still had hair, I looked a lot like Kevin Bacon, so a lot of people in Ottawa call me Footloose. So that was how that started. But every Wednesday from chemo, I do a video, and tomorrow's is about you're more than you think you are. You're not just a cancer patient. You're a person. That's just part of your life. That's not who you are. It doesn't define you. You're still you. And whether it's cancer, whether you're going through other problems, other health problems, whether you're going through marital problems, financial problems, work problems, health problems, whatever, you are always more than you think you are. You can't pigeonhole or define yourself as one thing. You never lose sight of who you really are. And if you're on, if you want to get on YouTube, my YouTube channel is Footloose 8096 or Footloose Ottawa 8096. So you can find my stuff there. And in the book about cancer, I actually wrote a chapter about Gary Carter, and I thought that was kind of something I would share with you guys, because I think I've told you so many thousand stories the times I've been on, and I'm sure I repeat them all. But the very first autograph from a baseball player I had was when I was 11 years old, and I wrote a letter to Gary Carter, care of Montreal Expos, and I got months later I got a black and white postcard in the mail, personalized autograph to me from Gary Carter, and I've got to meet him a few times over the years, and I got a couple of different autographs, and he was such an inspiration to me when I was younger. I was a catcher. I loved Thurman Munson and I loved Gary Carter. They were my two guys, and Gary Carter was he never cussed. He never he was just always did and said the right things. He was the perfect teammate. He was great with the fans, great with the media, great with kids. He was a wonderful person when you met him, and it was the thing that kind of was really cool about Gary Carter is, I mean, no, it's not cool. It's horrible. But one thing I wrestled with was Gary Carter died of brain cancer. And then I had brain cancer, but I somehow survived it. And one of the things I kept wrestling with was, how on earth did I survive brain cancer and Gary Carter didn't? And I know we had two different types of brain cancer, but how on earth did that sort of happen, that the guy I looked up to for my whole life and tried to be like didn't end up having it, or ended up having it, but didn't make it through, and I did, and we got brain cancer at the exact same age, and he didn't make it through, and so that was sort of one thing that always kind of stuck with me, and sort of, it makes you think. It makes you kind of do a self inventory on everything. But here's one thing I bet you guys didn't know about Gary Carter is, the term F-bomb. I'm sure everybody has used it here. You've used it. Well, no, Dave, you just let it fly out there. You don't say F-bomb. You just let it fly. Anyway, Gary Carter actually is the guy that came up with the term F-bomb. And if you look at Merriam-Webster dictionary and you look up F-bomb, it actually credits Gary Carter for coming up with the term and popularizing it, because he was, he never swore. And when he went to the Mets, I guess they cussed like crazy in the locker room, and they were all foul-mouthed like Dave. And yeah, yeah. He had no facial hair though. And so one of the reporters asked Gary Carter about something or other, and he said something about the players. Oh, they're all in there and they're all dropping F-bombs all over the place. And that was on a TV interview on I think it was on WPIX. It was on one of the New York stations, and the term just caught on. Like, people just started saying it, and it went viral before the internet. It just was one of those kind of, like, there's expressions that just catch on, like whoever the asshole that came up with the really annoying one of oh, that wasn't on my bingo card. I mean, God, if I hear that one more time, or during COVID, oh, we have to pivot, like those things. Well, those are things that somebody came up with, and they just caught on. And well, Gary Carter came up with F-bomb, and so that's kind of a cool anecdote for him. But in the book, I talk about how people influence you and things like that. What ended up happening is and this was kind of a fun thing that happened at the hospital when I was going through. I'm on my third round of cancer right now, but in my second round of cancer, when I was in for chemo, my first name is John. It's John Jeff. So if you see me sometimes when I'm watching the show and you see me as John Morris, that's my first name is John. So it's John Jeffrey, and then my third name is Fulton, which is my mom's maiden name, and then Morris is my last name. So I have four names, which has been a curse all my life, because it's just no forms are built that way. And in our in the medical charts that are shared among all the hospitals, there's not room for my full name because it's 4 names. So according to the computers, my name is John Jeffrey Fu Morris, like FU, because it doesn't have room for Fulton. So one day, one of the nurses came up. It was a male nurse, and just at random, while I was getting the drip in the chair, he said, "Hey, we got a question for you." And I was like, "Yeah." And he says, "What does FU stand for?" I was like, "What?" He says, "On your name, John Jeffrey Fu Morris. What's FU? Where did that come from?" And I thought, I just kind of looked at him, and he said, "No." I said, "Really?" And he said, "Yeah, actually, we've all put money in. We've got a bet going on what foo means." And I was like, "Let me get this straight. You got sweet action going on, like FanDuel on what my third name is?" And they're like, "Yeah. What is it?" And so I thought, okay, I'm going to mess with these guys. So I said, "Well, when I was born, my birthday is just a few days before Christmas, and I was born, and my mom and dad got in a big argument and a fight about what to call me, and that's a true story. I'm like the 4th John Morris, and I've got all kinds of relatives named John Morris, and it's like the world needs another one. And so my mom wanted me to keep the line going, and of course I cursed my oldest son and called him John, but he goes by Jack. And my dad wanted to call me Billy Joe because his favorite football player was this Texan offensive lineman named Billy Joe Booth. And my dad wanted to call me Billy Joe. Could you imagine what a shit show that would be if I was Billy Joe Morris? I mean, God, golly. I mean, I'm enough of a redneck being a rural Canadian, but I'm not a Billy Joe. And so they fought. And then my mom wanted to bring me home for Christmas Eve. I was 4 days old, and they wouldn't let me leave the hospital because I hadn't been registered yet because my parents hadn't decided on a name to fill it out. And so I was telling the guy that was asking me about it, I said, and this is where I kind of made stuff up. I said, yeah, they were like, so this nurse came in and said, "I can't let you leave until I have a name." And that part's true. And my mom and dad were arguing. And then I told him, I said, and my dad finally said, "That's it, John Jeffrey fucking Morris." And I said, and the nurse was a new Canadian, and she was from Poland or somewhere, and didn't know that was a bad word. So I was actually registered as John Jeffrey fucking Morris. And then the government just shortened it to Foo because my name was offensive. And I had them going for a long time before they figured out that I was pulling their leg. And so in the book, I talk about how, wouldn't it be cool when I die if, like I always imagine when I die that my dad will be waiting for me with a baseball glove and we'll play catch like in Field of Dreams. And then it's like, and then I start thinking about what if I get to meet Gary Carter, and then, do you get to meet celebrities that you've always wanted to meet when you get to heaven? Like what's it like? Do they have baseball there? Do they get to, do they have to go, "Oh God, this guy wants to meet you"? Is there a ticker on the TVs or at Times Square in heaven saying, "Well, so and so's dying today, and so and so wants you to meet them"? Like I want to meet Thurman Munson, I want to meet Mickey Mantle, I want to meet Gary Carter, whatever, and so I know exactly what Gary Carter is going to say to me when he meets me, and he's in heaven, and he's going to say, "Yeah, it's really great to see you again," and whatever. I met you a couple times on Earth, and by the way, what the hell does "foo" mean? And that's kind of yeah. But anyway, people. It's part of why we collect cards when we're kids. You collect cards for a connection with your favorite players. And it's different now because you have different ways of getting connections. You have them on fantasy teams, or you play Madden and you have your favorite football players, or you play Chell on your video game for hockey, and you have different ways besides cards of connecting with players. But when we were young, your cards were all you had, and that's we sat there and um, we sat there and just um, we looked at our cards for hours and hours and studied and examined the backs of them, and that's how we got to be closer, because there was no, when I was a kid, it was just before ESPN came along, and you didn't have endless highlights and endless sports and endless baseball. You had to read the newspaper, you had to listen to the radio, you had to find out what you could, and baseball cards were played in a really important role. Same with hockey, same with maybe not as much football and basketball, but with hockey and baseball especially, the connections were made through cards with those sports, and that's why collecting is so important. It's different now, but fundamentally, we all collect for different reasons. But when it comes right down to it, we're all sports fans. We all love sports, and we have favorite players, and we like to collect our favorite players. And that's you don't collect somebody because it's worth a lot of money. You collect somebody because you love that player. 90% of the time, the people that are just collecting guys to make money, they're not really collectors, they're investors, and they're gonna they're not long-term people in this hobby. And the other thing that Dave always says too, that I really agree with, is part of collecting is the people that you meet. You go to shows, you go into a shop, you meet other collectors, you meet friends, you make friends through the hobby, and you find out there's some really, really cool people that also collect. I used to love when I worked at Pinnacle, or when I worked at Pacific, or at Collector's Edge or Shop at Home. We would always do shows. We were always at the baseball fan fest, or the hockey fan fest, or the Super Bowl fan fest show. I loved working behind the counter, just chatting with people and meeting people. One of the most enjoyable shows that I ever did was the All-Star game in Minnesota in 2004. And it was like every single person that came to our booth to open a box of cards was so passionate about being a hockey fan, and that was one of the most enjoyable shows ever, other than that it was -20 the whole week. But it was just a fantastic experience to work at that show, and that's what's so special about it. It's the same thing you guys experience it when you go to the National. You just meet the coolest people, and so yeah, there's my soliloquy.
You're allowed.
So Steve mentions it's getting close to the 2 hour mark, just to keep you abreast of the time.
Yeah, I've got an early morning at the hospital with chemo, so I might check out, unless there's anything else you guys want to cover.
What kind of dog? I didn't see it all the way.
He's a Yorkie, Teddy.
Oh.
He weighs 7 pounds, and he's my absolute best friend. He's glued to me all the time. And I'll tell you what, when I come home after chemo, when I'm sick, he's just like right under my neck all the time. Like he knows, he can smell it. He understands what's going on. He's pretty good.
It's a rough patch for yesterday. Was Ghost passed away yesterday, and then tomorrow is his birthday. So I still celebrate like the dog's birthday and stuff afterwards. And like tonight, I told my wife, I said, on our way home, get Golly a hamburger. And she's like, why? I'm like, it's Ghost's birthday. He would want to celebrate with his buddy. And she just looked at me. She goes, you're such a pansy. I said, no, I'm not a pansy. I'm sentimental.
I would have probably hit her with a steel chair. I'm not gonna lie. You start talking bad about dogs. People talk bad about dogs.
Yeah.
You start doing that.
I think it was just a context of me being a sap, and I am a very sentimental person.
That's how I am with dogs too. So that is.
Yeah. We're dogs over humans.
Oh,
like Michael's dog. I'm looking at it and I'm like, how could you be mad at that? I like that dog, and I've never met it. Never met Teddy, but I still like it more than most humans I know. because they can be idiots.
Absolutely.
And when I go upstairs, Galaxy's going to come running, and he's going to jump in bed, and I'm going to sit there and play with him for 10 minutes, and then he's going to go jump in his mother's bed, and then he's going to go on a couch, and then he's going to come and get me. It's a routine. Like, if I didn't have that, I wouldn't know what to do. Like, I lost Dryden, I lost Ghost, and I lost Nala, and then I lost Tates, and then I lost Taz, and now my oldest daughter got a new dog, and he's just a bundle of energy. He's a pit something mix, and his name's Kano, like the guy from Mortal Kombat. And he's a brindled, and he's just beautiful. And I thought he didn't like me. And I'm like, I'm like, all dogs like me. What's going on? Do I smell funny, or what's the deal? And then the other day I went over there and I sat and I didn't do anything.
Yes.
No one was paying attention to him, and I let him out of his cage. And apparently, it's like, boom. He's now, every time I walk through the door, boom, beeline to me, because I let him out of his little crate.
Teddy's looking at Michael's dog right now. Kind of like in the Brady Bunch, you know, when they're all looking at each other with A.B. Davis in the middle.
Oh, yeah.
I'm dating myself again.
We're all around that date.
Yeah. Charlie's thinking, give me a snack or let's go to bed. Pick one.
Here, I can join in this too. Oh. There you go.
There we go.
Mine would require me to come upstairs.
My 80-pound baby.
He's a slender 80-pound baby.
No. He is built like a brick shit house, but
Yeah, he is.
unfortunately,
When we got Teddy, he
I
was
had
a
to
little
put
bit
one of mine down
undernourished.
recently.
He was a little bit undernourished, and he weighed 3.96. So we fattened him up to 7 pounds now. But
Golly's limit is 30 pounds for a Pomeranian mixed with a Husky.
wow,
He is at that limit. He's not fat, he's big boned.
yeah,
Because after the other dogs, I quit feeding kibble to him. I cook for Galaxy. I make him steak, and I make him beef, and I make him chicken. And that's what he eats. Would you like an egg today? So he's a bougie dog.
Yeah, Trista gets Ruby, our little King Charles Cavalier. I don't know where it's from, but it's like little ground beef, the packets, and we'll divvy those up, and then she'll get a X amount of that. And I know anytime I go down there and walk in the door of that dog, I've never seen a tail or a butt shake that quick and that like violently, and just starts like woo 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 and scraping at me, and then I sit down and I'll sit right here and lick and lick. I'm like, so I just start like really scratching and violently petting her haunches, so that face goes up and cloud nine. I'm like, dogs are the best.
yeah. All right, boys, I'm going to pack it in for the night. So everyone listening,
Good seeing you.
remember everybody that hero is the most overused word in the English language. And just because somebody gets a touchdown or wins a Super Bowl like Tom Brady, or wins NBA titles like Kobe Bryant, or scores Olympic gold medal winning goals like Jack Hughes, they are not heroes. They're just really good at sports. If you want to be a hero, go get blood. You'll save somebody's life. That's how my life was saved, by people giving blood. There were 25 of them. So if you want to know what it's like to be a hero, go do that. And yeah, So have a good night, guys. Good to see you again. Hope that was okay. I had a lot of fun. I hope everybody else did.
Great as usual.
Always
John.
the best.
Always.
And I'm probably going to be visible on here for about 10 minutes while I figure out how to sign out.
But I'm going to drop you down so nobody will see you.
Okay, thanks a lot, guys.
Good night.
Thank you, Jeff.
Good night.
Night, Jeff.
I'm following suit. I'm ready for bed.
I think you're on mute, Michael.
Nope.
Or
No?
it's me.
Yep.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I
guess.
can hear you.
Apparently, it's just Michael.
Sounds like a repeat of the other night for you.
Speak, Oracle, speak. Give us your truth.
He just did.
Good
Well,
night,
without your
gentlemen.
I can't hear his wisdom. I can only hear Dave.
Later,
Hopefully, I won't have to do weather updates with Dave the rest of the week because we've been getting the shit kicked out of us around here.
I'll be back.
Yeah, that.
Ours hasn't been horrible, but it's been bad enough.
Luckily, we didn't get what Springfield got today. Springfield got smoked by softball-sized hail.
Yeah, and it wasn't just like
A couple.
there was Walmart parking lot with people looking like a bomb went off.
Yeah, that's the Springfield airport had to put out a press release telling people, yeah, your shit's fucked. You better get a hold of your insurance people.
Yeah, that I can't even imagine. That's got to be just so
Yeah, 'cause-
so many photos from that Ryan Hall had, and like siding. Every vehicle was there.
Just destroyed.
Just fucking cake. They're gone. There's some Maverick down there that people are trying to pull into. And this guy, his whole windshield was just like literally Mike Tyson decided to punch it. And then he got pissed off and elbow dropped 30 times on his fucking hood. And that's all you could see. But I mean, it's like, that's wild to have like that much hail. There's, again, Springfield's a pretty decent town, a bigger sized town.
Yeah, it's spread out. It's spread out over a long space.
So I mean, to see that type of damage and like everybody sending into this one weathercaster, you know, it just wasn't like, oh man, sort of like Joplin got like half of Joplin got hit by the tornado that time. This was the whole fucking town.
Yeah, Joplin, if you fly drones over the place, you can still see the path of that tornado
Well,
all these years later.
I believe that thing.
That was a terrifying one.
Yeah, that was definitely nasty.
But okay, guys, I will see you all next week.
Take it easy, Michael.
Good night.
Later. Yeah, that weather's been just stupid. Just constant.
Yeah, the crazy thing is like that storm system that was coming or supposed to come through here kind of came through here, but not
I
really.
guess don't all speak at once, or maybe Steve is speaking and I can't hear him again.
Correct.
It's you. It's all you.
Yeah, Steve's been speaking.
At least I'm pretty sure I have been.
Correct.
I mean,
Son of a bitch. Can't hear a damn thing.
well, stop breaking shit. Not that he could hear me. Although it's kind of funny. And he's such a big piece of shit. Man, I really hate that MFer. Why do we keep letting him on this show? And he's such a big piece of shit. Man, I really hate that MFer. Why do we keep letting him?
Yeah, but now I'm listening on my other screen,
And he's such a big piece of shit. Man, I really hate that MFer. Why do we keep letting him?
Yeah, but now I'm listening on my other screen,
And he's such a big piece of shit. Man, I really hate that MFer. Why do we keep letting him?
Yeah, but now it's like on constant repeat. I don't know what the hell's going on. I'll be back.
That was quite fun.
Yeah, it looked like it was coming right towards you. And that's why I said,
Yeah.
I know you're watching, I know you're aware, but But the trajectory, it was pointing. And again, we all know that can fucking change. In the last couple days down there, that Runaway
Well-
Bay in Springtown, it's like you had that I think the Runaway Bay, the tornado started basically on like the northeast side of town, and the motion for the tornado brought it back to like the north, the west, and it was like the west northwest, west west,
That
south,
was weird.
and then it started like in your more traditional. Again, Texas has like weird ways of the storms going. It's not always due east or like with a east northeast or a northeast pattern.
Well,
This was a lot of that stuff goes
they
down.
normally do, but we have those moments in which they do something funky.
But there's been a lot of that lately. I mean, especially again, you get out by Wichita Falls and my city, Archer City's out there, and you have a lot of those that do go down to the southeast. Again, a lot of them do go to the northeast as well, but recently it seems like a few more have done that. And that one the other night was a bad one because there was a ton of fucking rain. Tons.
Yeah,
It's like
but
Hazel or whatever got fucking just flooded out. And when I saw that heading towards you, and they're sitting there, and that's all you hear in the whole day. Hail, 2.5, 3 inch hail. I'm like, man, that's
that's big.
tennis ball to baseball size hail. So I mean, I know you got your carport or whatever, but I'm like, just wanted to make sure. I mean, if you got to go over to like the former neighbors across the way and like, hey, what do you got in the garage? You got anything I can like squeak the vehicle in there? You know?
Oh yeah, there's no room in anybody's garage for a vehicle. That was always the problem.
I know, but I figured if nothing else, maybe they did. Okay, that's just give you the heads up about 45 minutes to an hour and a half early, just because again, the way the storms have been, and then yeah, that one. Oh, was it by Hillsboro? It looked like it was starting to intensify down that way in the 35 split, the 35 EW, and yeah, it's just been. But again, this is the time of year that shit fucking happens.
Yep, 'tis the season.
Yesterday was the 15-year anniversary of those Alabama tornadoes that I seemingly watched the James Spann ABC 3340 coverage of constantly, the 7 hour, 8 hour
Marathon.
yeah, because I'm like, it's just wild to see these cells like pop up one after another. And that was a day where, like, unlike last few days, a lot of those have popped up, but then they've like converged with the rest of them. And you just have a big line. Again, tornado threat is still there, but it's not as intense because you don't have a single cell sucking you off the cape or the the air out there that can be used to fuel the tornado or fuel the storm. You get a lot of it when it's in a big line. More likely that's a wind flooding risk, especially if you got training where it's just rolling over you for a couple hours. But yeah, it's I know I text Ryan, text Neil. I said yesterday about 2:30. I said, hey, Neil, I know you're a little more savvy when it comes to weather. You actually pay attention. I'm let you know. You got some stuff in your area that's moving out, but you got stronger stuff moving in. So I told Bannister too, but we know how much attention he pays to that stuff. So
None.
yeah,
Brian has like the attention span of a gnat sometimes. I would think of some of those details. Yet he could probably quote you prices on things that are a normal man could not.
yeah, you can go through like the Randy Moss, like Donruss Crusade or Leaf Rookies and Stars Crusade sell sheet for the last 15 years, and He like, hey, look out west, see if there's any storms coming. He'll look out east. So
I do that here because I don't know directions. Like my wife will go, it's east, and then I'll turn this way. She goes, that's north, dumbass. I still have no directional, nor do I care.
that stuff ever hit you last night?
The
That
wind
one-
did and the rain, but the rain wasn't bad.
No,
So
the
by the
rain-
time it got to me, it wasn't bad. Now, what, 2 weeks ago, it was like the siren started to go off, and I think for the first time in C's entire life, she was actually kind of scared because that sky was like that odd hue of green.
Mhm.
And the news guy was on there, said, if you're in Michigan in these locations, Macomb County, and she freaked out. And then as soon as they gave the go ahead, we went to the Mad Serbian, and he asked me if I wanted to go to the FIFA World Cup this summer. He goes, "I get you tickets."
And
I
you
said,
said
"Really?"
yes.
Not when I heard the price.
Oh, I was
Like,
expecting free.
no, he paid up for his, and I think it's Bosnia somebody, and he's like, "I'll get you 2 tickets." I think it was 3,500. But
yeah, eat a dick.
I'm his countryman, so see that's what's cool about those people. Like I'm like third. No,
Those people.
I'm like 2.5. Yeah, those people.
Yeah, that usually doesn't go over very well.
Yeah,
Those
2.5.
people.
Well, there's supposed to be this natural. I've been told all my life there's a natural hatred between Serbians and Croatians. I never saw it because every Serbian I ever met, I got along with. I guess it's old country blood bad thing. But him and me, the thing I enjoy about him the most is he'll look at me and he goes, "Are you all right?" I said, "Yeah, I'm fine, Reiko." He goes, "Are you sure?" He goes, "You tell me." He goes, "We speak our language." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He goes, "Her. Is she messing with you? Is she abusing you? How you say in English?" And I'm like, "Verbal abuse?" He goes, "That's it." He goes, the woman, did she abuse you?" And I was just like, he busts her balls something fierce. And it's enjoying to watch. I
Oh,
tell
like
you.
I do.
Yes, very much so. I love my wife. She got her hair cut today, and first thing she walked through the door, and I was like, "That is really nice." She's like, "I'm glad you," and I'm like, "I'm not saying it that way. Can't you just take an effing compliment for the love of Jesus?"
No.
No,
Yeah.
can't.
She's
No,
a
because
hard
she's
nut to crack.
well, no, because she's automatically going to think you're being a smart ass or whatever, and it's like
Well, in most cases,
now you understand.
she would be correct.
Yes, but here's the problem. You don't say anything, you're an asshole. You say something, you're a smart ass. So now they always wonder why. I'm just not gonna say a fucking thing.
Yeah, and then they get pissed that you don't say nothing.
That's what I'm getting at. It's like
Yeah.
you're damned if you do, damned if you don't, and 2 times on Sunday the following week, you're screwed.
And then what she said something else to me, and I said, I normally agree with you. I'm very hard to live with because I'm a prick. But
Yeah, and
your logic behind certain things, my dear wife, are not logical. Something about her opinion, and you know how that works. Her opinion's the only one that matters. I'm like, and I said, you know what? Why your opinion's the only matter? Because people indulge you, and I refuse to do so. And then I usually get punched in the arm.
Amen to
But
that.
it's like, in the words of Bob Lewis, it's good to be back. There's been a lot of stuff going on between working 12 hours a day, and I cleaned the basement. It's done. The worst part's in my office behind me. I ran out of shoe boxes. So once that goes in, my office is pretty much set. This is a little rough here too, I need some boxes for that shelf. But I get some shoe boxes and we clean. So you wouldn't recognize it, Steve. When you saw it last time, the disaster that it was.
Yes.
Yeah.
That it was.
So it's a lot better now.
Oh, it took you long enough, you lazy fucker.
Yeah, I
wait,
know.
I'm sorry. You know, I was making you just
Yes.
feel at home.
Feel at home. Yeah.
Hmm.
I added some stuff back here. I put my NASA sign up. Failure is not an option. So when I'm on a phone call, they get the idea. Failure is not an option in my vocabulary. And since I mention Moneyball about a dozen times every day about getting things down to one number, I got Billy Bean back there. And there's another one I saw, but it's like $153. And I'm gonna buy it eventually. It says adapt or die. And I want that. Because I like that philosophy. Adapt or die. And I think that's a good, strong message to bring to my coworkers. We have to adapt to the new world and the new ways, or we die.
Well, or get left behind, one of the two.
Correct.
So, in that case, it's like pick your poison.
Correct.
I don't have much to offer to the rest of this conversation. Should we have this be one of the shorter shows to end the month?
Why not?
Do you want to go over the draft quick? Just initial thoughts.
I didn't watch it. I told you I wasn't going to watch it.
That doesn't mean you can't fucking look at the results.
I didn't even do it. Again, like I really had no interest whatsoever. At some point, I will probably go look to see, who Denver drafted to see if they actually plug some holes. But outside of that, I didn't watch shit or look it up because, again, like I gave my 2 cents last week. There's no interest on two fronts. Denver had no first round picks. And two, I always watched it because I wanted to know who the big rookies were going to be in the upcoming football products. And since I can't very well really open or buy anything that's worth a damn, I don't care. Don't care.
So I watched very little of it. We got an offensive tackle, which we needed.
Right.
Then we got a wide receiver, which is always good to grab. We grabbed
Cornerback.
We got quarterback. Is this our draft, or am I looking at some bullshit?
Cornerback, or you got a quarterback? You got both, but I mean, you got the kid from Penn State that Drew Aller.
Yeah, Drew Aller. So this is our picks. Dalen Everett. We got Jennings Dunker, man.
That was you guys traded up. The Vikings had 2 picks at the end of that third. And you traded up right before them, or else I think he would have went to Minnesota.
I like him. He's all right.
And
then we got the wide receiver from Iowa, which isn't bad. We got a fullback, which we always get.
He's a return on that Wei-Chan or whatever.
Yeah. Then we got defensive tackle, and then we got a safety, and then we got our token running back, the kid from Navy, who's a Pittsburgh kid, and that was awesome to see. So, yeah, I mean,
I watched that live because it was just about the end of the draft there. And
yeah.
I saw him using the green room, and
yeah.
But yeah, I watched the first 2 nights. Because our Thursday game got postponed because the other team didn't have transportation. And then Friday got postponed because the skies opened up for multiple hours. And I think that was the night or the day that it was probably about 55 or 60. Then when the front went through, it was probably upper 30s, lower 40s. And over where we were going to play, it rained earlier, but the wind chill was like 28. It's like, really? So now, like that week last week where we were supposed to have 5 games, we had 2. So we got a game tomorrow. We were supposed to have one yesterday, but it rained for literally like 18 hours straight. And then,
That's always fun.
oh, yeah, that makes the fields all nice. So yeah, tomorrow and then Thursday, nothing Friday or Saturday. I know they weren't going to schedule anything because I'm figuring the ladies are getting their hair and their nails did because Saturday I think is prom, but then next Monday, double header, 2:30 and 4:30 for 2 different teams, and then JV after that. So it's gonna be like, but that's at least in town. Same with next Tuesday, and have to look. They're gonna have to start stacking games because there aren't enough days in the season to make up everything. So
Pretty much like C's whole thing. It's every game's like highlighted a different color. And it's like, we will play at this time, but if they can't do this and we get an email when the sun's in the highest zenith on a Thursday, then we're going to play at 4 o'clock. But if somebody takes a shit in the woods next to the bear and the Pope's Protestant, then we're going to play at 9 o'clock in the morning. That's pretty much this schedule because girls don't play this time of year. All these are trap teams or teams that strictly play club and not high school. So all the girls that aren't playing high school. So we have a match this week, but it's still highlighted that we might not play. So it's all a crapshoot. And then I think I travel for work, and I'm gonna miss the two matches that don't have any highlights. I might not be here. So go figure.
Always something.
Correct.
Always something. Of course, could always be worse.
Correct. That's why I take it as I see it.
That's your story and you're sticking to it.
Yep.
well, thank you everyone for joining us in this action-packed episode. Jeff Morris, always enjoy him. I know we all enjoy listening to him, and not only because of like the stories and insight and fun he brings, but for us, that's one less episode to have to talk for 2 hours. We can let him ramble on, be more than content, and get to talk about hockey, which we don't do a lot on here anymore. It's always fun to talk hockey, especially
Yes, it is.
So
Well, for some people.
Wild won 4-2. Everyone, Wild won. And now up 3-2 over the Dallas Stars. Fuck Norm Green. So nice to see that.
Yes. Fuck Minnesota.
Correct. Naomi every day asks me, why do we live here? Why did you choose to live here? Why? Like high school teams for softball are playing like 40 games and we've played 7.
That is kind of funny.
So we can go
It's funny, but it's funny, but it's not funny?
Correct.
Hashtag facts.
Of course, there is always options, but those aren't always the best options.
Well, that's what I said. I was like, well, do you think if you played in Texas or Florida, you'd be pitching as much as you were? Do you think you'd be playing as much as you were? She's like, I don't want to think about that. I just want to think about playing there. I said, so the schools would probably at least let me go in the weight room. This is correct. So it'll be something her and I at some point will have a very candid and serious conversation about. You want to get better again. The goal needs to be put down, and you need to fucking start doing training. Like the resistance bands, core type stuff, movements. That'll help you every inch of the way, but at the same time, I'm not gonna fucking be pushing you, and you're just gonna be sort of the droopy dog. Okay. That's good.
Right.
I expect you to be like a cheerleader from like a 90s or 80s movie where they're all like happy and let's go. Yeah, well, I'm ready. And like that, I'm ready to work. And that's the end of it. I don't need all the other rigmarole. So,
When you're going 6 days a week, training and matches, it's just like this week she's had most of it off because her play for the high school is this week. So she's been at play practice till 7:30. Now tomorrow she's got to go and get a session in or she's going to get too rusty. So we told the guy, hey, we get it, but one night's got to be for that. And then at least get one practice in and then get Saturday in and then we'll be all right. But she has a play 3 days this weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I just have to determine which day I'll be going. Because I love my kid, but I hate sitting in events like that. Like, I loathe it. I can't stand to sit still. If I don't know the exact moment I'm getting out of there, I'm a ball of nerves. I don't like going even to the movie theater anymore. I don't like going places where I can't just like, okay, I've had enough and leave. So I will do this for my child, but it's just like I hard to go to an environment I can't control. I don't know if it's just get off my lawn, John Mangini thing, but it's just odd. The older I get.
Sounds to me like it's just a you issue.
More than likely, that's what everybody continues to tell me. You're just a freaking wackadoo. So
I don't like at the theaters now where you have to pick your seats. Like,
Well, at least you know where you're sitting before you
True.
go there.
Well, 90% of the time, if Tristan and I go, we're picking our seat at the checkout or whatever when we start we pay. It's not like we've prepaid and like, oh, now we're gonna go here. No,
Well, that's your mistake.
no. The mistake is having assigned seating for a fucking movie theater.
that's ridiculous. We were going to go see the new Michael Jackson thing Sunday. And then I told my wife, I said, it's X amount of dollars. And I said, do you realize you have to pick your seat ahead of time? And she's like, is there 3 together? I said, no. And she's like, how? I'm like, and I check like 2. She's like, screw it. We'll wait for it to come on Netflix next month and buy it for $2, rent it for $2.50 and call it a day.
Correct.
But you don't get the same experience.
Yeah, I don't listen to somebody else wrestling around and giggling and I see people looking at their cell phones. I'm like, you're in a fucking movie. Fucking put your goddamn fucking phones away for 2 hours. Can it be done? No.
Yes.
Yes, it can. People just refuse to let it happen.
Well, I know that, but still, it's just like anytime the public is involved, if I can avoid said public, I'm
Yeah.
greatly appreciative of that option.
Yeah, I enjoy avoiding public as much as possible.
No. I'll avoid that for a second.
Card shows, yeah, I'll go. Kids games, yeah, I'll go. Kids plays, I'll go, but I really don't want to sit there and listen to all your kids. It's like when Ron White says, I like my dog, but yours. But in my case, I like your dog too. So it's a hard thing. But basically, what it comes down to, I just don't need any more human interaction than I currently have in a day from my basement.
What play?
Wizard of Oz.
What did
She
get?
she's a munchkin because it's the high school play, so the high school kids got the main parts, but she got a supporting thing. Her not everybody was asked from the junior high. She's in 8th grade. So not everybody was asked, and her teacher basically said, you show a real passion for acting, I want you to come and try out. And she almost got a big part. She was like, she came in 3rd, which it was Dorothy. So and then she tried out for Tin Man, and
the
she
understudy.
Yeah, so she got the understudy for 2 parts, but they had an understudy, so they kind of mix. If you're the understudy for Dorothy, you're playing the Tin Man, and then if you're that understudy, you're the lion, but the lion's understudy. It's one of those things. All those people have a main role, and they kind of learn the other stuff just in case the person gets like the bubonic plague or something.
Right.
Yeah, which usually doesn't happen, but it's good experience if this is something she enjoys. Raiko asked why you wouldn't play, and then she's like, because it's something I enjoy, and I can't do soccer 24/7 or I'm gonna pop. And that's her thing now. I want her to be a kid every once in a while, and this is what she enjoys.
That's not allowed. She can't be a kid at all.
Yeah, she can.
She can't.
I refuse to not, because I remember what it was like to not be a kid, and I disliked it highly, so I will not subject my daughter to the same bullshit.
I'm aware, Benny. I'm aware.
Yes, you are. Not blaming anybody, it's just the way it happened. Yeah.
Simmer down.
Simmer down now. Simmer down now. Simmer down now.
All right, Dave, wrap us up.
So again, thanks to Jeff Morris jumping on. Michael coming on as well as usual. Hopefully everybody has a good rest of the week. Watch some sports, watch some NHL playoffs, do something. So, Vinny.
Are you struggling again there, Dave?
Well, again, I don't know if it's backwards or I don't.
Walk like an archer.
Exactly. Point. Just point and look. Look at that. Wow. What? Look at that. Oh, man. What? I'm Dave. This has been the IRP. Remember, collecting cards. It's a wonderful hobby. the friendships you forge along the way. That's what really matters. Good night, everyone.
Good night, everybody.
Go wild. Beat the Stars.